All right, I hope you all can hear me tonight. I'm using a kind of a makeshift setup here, and we hope things go well. And good evening to everybody on the East Coast of the United States. Good evening to everybody, I think, on the West Coast because it's like 6:30 there. And welcome to the Live with Rhea. So I had a little problem coming up with a topic for tonight's live stream, but I got some inspiration today from something I was doing. So first of all, um, this topic is about ham radio in Trinidad and Tobago. I've been meaning to do something like this for a while, but I just never got my round to it. And tonight we got my round to it. It's round, and it's to it. Okay? Okay. So anyway, opening courtesies. If you're new to the channel, I am Rhea. My call sign is N2RJ. I talk about amateur radio. I talk about other radio. I talk about communications. I talk about preparedness. I talk about other stuff. I do sometimes talk about solar generators, and I'm going to have a video about a impertinent safety issue that I've seen in one of them that I think kind of needs addressing. And spoiler alert, it's about something I think that has not been paid attention to in terms of safety. Yeah, there is a solar generator manufacturer that's that's blue, and they had a problem in one of their generators, and some of the other YouTubers are like, "Oh, it's totally fine. It's totally fine. Nothing to see here. Move along." I don't agree. I mean, I have a lot of EcoFlow solar generators, and they had this similar issue, and they fixed it because they knew it's a safety issue. So we're gonna probably drop that tomorrow or day after because I think it needs addressing. So anyway, if you're new to the channel, thank you very much for joining, and I'd appreciate it if you're sticking around. Why don't you hit that subscribe button? And why don't you hit one of the thumbs button down there? I think the one that goes up works best. Like the shoulder thing that goes up. I'm sorry. The one that goes up works best because it shows us you like the channel, and YouTube is not going to show the down one anyway, so don't waste your time pressing the down one. I'm just kidding. Zero Cool says, "Hey Rhea, what's up?" And you know what? I should turn on my comments module because I totally have a comments module. Yes, I do. And I can set that up right now. Get my overlay URL. I'm going to show you guys, all you other YouTubists, how to do this. And we're going to show you how I do comments without StreamYard. Would you believe it? Yeah, without StreamYard. Because I think StreamYard's a nice tool, but it has its problems, and I'm kind of over it now. So let's see, Ron Walensky. Hi, Mel. Okay, yeah, he's good. Them tuits can be hard to find at times. Yep. Yes, sirree. They can be. So, yeah, maybe I can make this a little bigger. And I put it down here. See? OBS is good like that. Okay. So, yeah, the inspiration I had today. So, I actually so let me tell you a little bit about my weekend, first of all. Yesterday, I hosted my first ever, because, I'm an totally, I'm an ARRL person, and I have, I'm a division director for the ARRL. Of course, that's not what this channel is about, but I mention anyway because people know me from that. I actually, I am part of the ARRL board of directors, and one of the things we get to do is we get to do events around our division. So my division is Northern New Jersey, Eastern New York, and New York City, Long Island. Some of the other directors get several states, yippee them. I get this concentrated area around New York City with Northern New Jersey, and for some reason I don't get Southern New Jersey, and the rest of New York. But that's okay. People can still talk to me. But we had an awards ceremony, right? We had an awards luncheon. So it used to be that it was an awards. I don't know if it used to be an awards dinner, but all these ham clubs are moving, to awards luncheon. Dennis O'Brien, hey, nice to see you here, Dennis. Dennis is a good guy from one of these clubs, the Ocean Monmouth Amateur Radio Club, OMARC, and they're in the southern part of northern New Jersey. They're right on the border between northern and southern New Jersey. Thank you, Dennis. I really, it's a really nice topic. I love CW. So, who is my partner? That's Mahi.
Hi.
Hey, she can't hear me. So they were totally sweet. We had the awards luncheon yesterday. I gave out several awards. We really put a lot of work into this. I invited the ARRL CEO, David Minster, NA2AA. I invited my good friend Joe Taylor, K1JT, and he gave a speech. And he also received an award from the ARRL, a Technical Achievement Award, which is actually bestowed upon him by the ARRL Programs and Services Committee and voted on by the full board of directors. So we gave him an award. We gave an award on behalf of QCWA, Quarter Century Wireless Association, which I will be eligible to join next year because I've been 25 years a ham next year. I can't believe that time flies like that. Okay, 25 years. Who would imagine that little old me would be 25 years in this hobby? It's a little bittersweet because one, it's nice. It's nice to be, new in the game, and everybody's like, hey, helping you out. And I love helping new people, right? I really love helping new people. On the other hand, you have some nasty people saying, well, you should have known that on the exam, or as in Trinidad, they say, you should have known that on the exam, okay? So, it's kind of like that. And at the same time, when you get older and wiser in the hobby, you basically, you learn a lot of things, you make less mistakes, and you can't really cover up behind your mistakes anymore. People expect a higher standard of you. People look up to you, believe it or not, based on your time in the hobby and of course your accomplishments. I try to stay humble here, but I do have some accomplishments in the hobby. The leadership things I do, not only that, but also things I do, to mentor people. And look, people think, you're famous because of ARRL, which is not really true. I help out a lot of people outside of my involvement in the league, and I will have it no other way. I give presentations, and I give so many presentations for free to clubs, and I will keep doing it because I really love amateur radio, and I love the joy when I see people learn something. Okay, my dad was a teacher, and he was a trade unionist too, by the way, which would explain some things. But he actually taught me a lot of things. But he was a teacher. Yes.
I'll hug you before.
You can hug me before you go upstairs. All right. See, get your license.
Okay.
I've been pressuring them to get their license. So anyway, they've been. My dad's a teacher, and I kind of like to teach people. So let me see. Other people have joined. Let's see here. KK6, USY, Ham Radio Adventures. Hi there, Chuck. Good evening to you there out in California. And, nice to see you on here. Chuck has a nice YouTube channel. He does outdoorsy stuff with his big honking Jeep. And you got the Smoking Ape in here too. Hey Ape, how's it going, Ape? And you have the Unlucky Ham. You have AA4CB Chris. Chris lives around by my mom. I didn't even realize that until I went down to my mom's house and I received a packet on APRS. And I said, wait a minute, hold the phone. This guy's right there? Okay, wow, cool beans. So, so Ron Walensky, J-Man Ranger, and other than here. So good. And Brian, AD8GI, a lot of good people in here tonight. So, what inspired me to do this? Well, back to my weekend. We had this nice award ceremony, and the kids and such had a good time. They helped me give out tons of prizes to not only awards, but we gave out a lot of prizes too. And I really like to thank the Orange County Amateur Radio Club, who really put on such a great event. They helped secure the venue. Of course, I emceed the whole thing, and because I'm a YouTuber, I could be afraid. I could be unafraid to talk in front of crowds, right? Which is not true. I'm just a ham who I could pick up a microphone. And I cracked a joke yesterday that had everybody rolling. I think I'll crack it tonight. Where everybody knows the call sign JY1, right? So JY1 is King Hussein, or was King Hussein of Jordan. And legend has it that the king was on the air. He was chatting up with a ham. And then this ham said, "So there, Hussein, what do you do there in Jordan for a living?" And everybody stopped and somebody keyed their microphone and said, "He's the king, you moron." I think there was collective laughter from every ham shack in the entire world. Of course, this person didn't identify, This sometimes do, right? They didn't say their call sign. But so, we have these kind of people in ham radio. And let's see here. What is my favorite digital mode? So if you're talking about HF digital, I kind of like PSK31, to be honest. I really like PSK31. The JT modes, of the JT modes, I like FT8 the most. I think FT8 strikes the right balance, as Joe was saying yesterday. And he gave a really nice speech. I think somebody recorded it. We'll probably have it up. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway. Right. The award ceremony was kind of thing. Okay. Zero cool. Okay. It was fell up the stairs. Hello from Fort Sierra Land. That's new. Isn't Fort Sierra like Sri Lanka? That's pretty cool. We have a nice international audience here. So yeah. Let's see here. Nigel's from Trinidad too. Nigel's my friend from Trinidad. It's good. And yeah, so we we had some pretty cool stuff. All right, so we're going to get into the topic tonight and explain some things about Trinidad. So if you don't know where Trinidad is, right? Trinidad and Tobago, first of all, okay, they're not separate countries. They are Twin Island Republic, right? They became independent. They used to be a British colony up until 1962. 1962, Trinidad and Tobago became independent from the British because the British just basically wanted to get, they didn't want to, they wanted to decolonize, they didn't want to keep all these countries around. It wasn't like, the United States who basically, how should I put it, who basically went and fought a bloody Revolutionary War. But, it's like in Trinidad, we kind of just asked the British to become independent, and yes, they let us become independent, which was kind of cool. In 1976, Trinidad and Tobago became a republic. So those of you who worked in television and stuff like that, you might find this interesting. In 1962, as we gained independence, we also got our first television station. They were doing test transmissions. Um, Test transmissions that were, how should I put it? That were gearing up to the grand opening of Trinidad and Tobago Television, TTT, on channels 2 and 13. So channel 2 had most of the country, and channel 13 was what occurred in the northern part of the country, and that was because that was blocked by the mountains, that was near the capital and such like that. So K9, KMV, so did their call sign prefixes change since they're no longer under British authority? And actually the answer to that is yes. So Trinidad and Tobago used to be Victor Papa 4, right? You know, you have some call signs in the Caribbean now that still go Victor Papa 5. You have Victor Papa 2. Trinidad used to be Victor Papa 4 Tango, I believe. Tango something, or Victor Papa 4. And that changed to 9 Yankee 4. Okay? 9 Yankee, 9 Zulu. So, yes, that's totally a thing, right? And Philip Collier, Trinidad, been there before. Cool beans, you know? And, yeah. So, you know, and so, yeah, so Trinidad got its own prefix block from, the ITU. So, let me show you, I'll bring up the keynote here, because I do keynote, and let me press the play button here. I'm not going to give you death by PowerPoint or death by keynote, but I do like to show you guys some things, and it's really nice that that we can. Let's see here, keynote. Yes, here we go. Okay. So, where is Trinidad and Tobago? I'm trying to shift this around. Right? Where is Trinidad and Tobago? So Trinidad and Tobago is in the southern Caribbean, right? If you look on a map of the Caribbean, you look at a map of the world, and you look at the Caribbean, we are the very southernmost islands of the tropical Caribbean. And Trinidad and Tobago Television used to sign on, and when they signed on, you know, back when TV broadcasting was kind of romantic, and you had people you had broadcasters where the TV stations would sign on at like 6 a.m. and then they would sign off at like midnight playing the national anthem, not this 24-hour just spoon feeding you with reality shows and reruns. Well, yeah, so when they start off, they used to say Trinidad and Tobago, the most southerly isles of the tropical Caribbean, right? So we are the most southern, and you notice to the left of us is Venezuela. And Venezuela, on a good day, you can actually see Venezuela to the west of us, right? There are some people who they take small fishing boats to and from Venezuela. You know, Venezuela had all their stuff. They basically they had all their social unrest and all that stuff. A lot of people came to Trinidad to buy supplies, one, and two, they came, some of them came to migrate to Trinidad. So yeah, so good stuff. And yeah, reruns are the best. Smoking Ape, yeah, sometimes. Yeah, so I was 7 miles. So 7 miles from my house is a trip to the supermarket. Okay, so you could go to Venezuela for the same thing. And yeah, so where is Trinidad and Tobago? Well, you also notice that we're just above the equator, between 10 and 11 degrees, and between 61 and 62 degrees west longitude. So 10 and 11 north latitude, and 61 and 62 west longitude. So we're firmly in the western hemisphere and the northern hemisphere, but we are right close to the equator. Okay, so it's very hot, and they have weather that's like a rainy season, and they have like a dry season and such like that. Okay, so good stuff for that. All right. So let me see. Yeah. So we had Columbus. Columbus came there in 1498. They were native tribes, the Arawaks and the Caribs. Of course, the Spanish took it over there, and the Spanish ruled for a while. You know, the Spaniards. Then the British kind of like came and invaded. Um, and then, you know, two islands, they're one nation. Steel band, calypso, and limbo were invented there. Don't let anybody tell you they're invented in Jamaica. Okay? We're not. Any shortwave station operating in Trinidad? The answer is no because we don't have any shortwave stations. I just don't think that they really wanted. They used to have one, I believe, operated by the U.S. military called WVDI. This was back in the war days, okay? So Trinidad was a strategic base for the war, and then, you know, that kind of got disbanded. But no, most of the shortwave we receive actually is from foreign, you know, countries. Like, we received a lot of the BBC, we received the Voice of America, we received, Radio Moscow, all India Radio, because we have a sizable population of Indian people, right? From from Asian Indian people like me, right? We we have a lot of interest in Hindi programming. So the local cable systems, I believe, has one Hindi channel, ZTV, or they might have a couple of them, and people used to listen to All India Radio. So yeah, which is the bigger island? Trinidad is, of course. Trinidad looks like the boot, right? So Trinidad looks like the boot, and you can see here, I'll bring it back. Keynote. Keynote me. Okay. Yeah, so Trinidad looks like the boot. Tobago looks like the little, you know, I don't even know what that is. Active hams, I'd have to say about 200 to 300. Although Nigel S., who is in there, Nigel Sukdeo, probably correct me on that. But I think last I saw in the database, it's a couple hundred, right? But really active hams are probably a really smaller number. So it's a small thing. You know, it's not like a big country like the United States where we have 700,000 licensees and probably 200,000 to 300,000 active hams. We don't really have that many. So, hey, Paul from the lab in Newington. Nice to see you. You know, I saw David yesterday, and pretty cool. Nice to see you. Let's see here. Yeah. So the other thing you got to know about Trinidad, let me see here too. Right, so our demographics are a little bit, I'm going to talk about repeaters in a bit. We have about, roughly, we have roughly 35 to 34, and that may vary actually. You know, it's always kind of like they're close within the margin of error, Indian and African. So these are like a heritage of our colonial past, right? Because the British and the French, so actually the French came and they planted a lot of crops here too. They planted like sugarcane and cocoa and coffee and such like that too, back in the day. And Nigel's saying active hams probably less than 100. Yeah. So we have a lot of these. So initially we had slavery there, of course, and slavery is a bad thing, but of course, you know, when slavery is done, you have African people settling in the Western Hemisphere, making this country great. And then you have Indians who were brought as indentures, you know, kind of like the Chinese railroad workers in the United States, except we were agricultural workers. And my family, my grandfather was a cocoa. He had a cocoa. He used to work he had a cocoa estate. So, let's see here. We also have Chinese, Syrian. We have some Europeans. We have a few people from the original native tribes, the Arawaks and the Caribs. The Arawaks were more, farmers and vegetarians. The Caribs were hunters, and I mean that in exactly what you were thinking. Okay, We have plenty of religions. We have Roman Catholicism, Presbyterianism, Pentecostal, evangelical churches, and we have a spiritual Shadow Baptist church, which is like kind of like it's basically a Christian religion with African flavor and African roots. So they do a lot of chants, and they go and they do a lot of things. You have Hinduism is big there because you have a lot of Indian people, so you have a lot of Hindus, and we have big Hindu festivals there. Huge. I mean, we have something called the Diwali Nagar, which is basically a Diwali village. And so those who don't know, right, Diwali is the Indian Hindu festival of lights where we light oil lamps outside. And Hindu people pray to Mother Lakshmi, and Mother Lakshmi is the goddess who will bring you prosperity. And so we basically want to symbolize also the triumph of light over darkness. So okay. Hey, to Victor, nice to see you in here tonight. And the dogs. Oh, I'll tell you a story about the dogs. And yeah, we also have Islam. We have a sizable Muslim population, and Baha'i faith is there too. I don't know much about them, but yeah. So, what languages are commonly spoken in Trinidad? We speak English. We speak English. We also speak some. We're trying to get people to speak. So, because we have a large Venezuelan contingent, there are people there who speak Spanish too. There are some people who speak a kind of Creole language called Patois, right? And Patois is French, kind of like broken French, right? So Patois, you probably know it from Haiti, but we have Patois in Trinidad too. Some people speak Hindi. The older Indian people speak Hindi. Although this is a real not something that's kind of like I didn't like. Was when the parents kind of like use the old language to hide things from the children. So, your parents did speak Hindi, and then the children don't understand Hindi, so they could talk all sorts of things without the children understanding, which I think is bad. But, maybe I'm trying to learn it. I've learned a little bit here and there. I have a lot of Indian friends at work who teach me too. So that's pretty cool stuff. Let's see here. To Victor, you really didn't miss much, but you could also do team replay later on, And yeah, no problem. Pota's good. Let's see here. Yeah, we're gonna talk about the band plans too. The most popular foods. I'm gonna talk about the most popular foods too. And so yeah, the dogs. Yeah, I'll talk about the dogs too. The dogs are all over the place and they're well fed. VHF, I'll talk about VHF too. Boy, you guys are really good. Okay. All right. So, because we have the demographics. So, we have, and this is kind of like a small thing. Okay. So we have oil and gas. So Trinidad is an oil economy, right? Trinidad and Tobago is an oil economy. Tobago is more tourism and some agriculture. But Trinidad, by and large, is an oil economy. Although I think that's diversifying a little bit. They're more gas now because they shut down the oil refinery, and a lot of the onshore oil drilling is not really. They're not really doing that anymore. They have offshore oil drilling and they have offshore gas, and they have downstream products. They have ammonia. They have a huge ammonia plant. They produce methanol and other downstream stuff from natural gas, and also produce metals like iron and steel. We were supposed to have a big aluminum smelter plant, but due to environmental concerns and such, people kind of like oppose that, so that's not going to happen. That wasn't going to happen. Probably for the best, and probably not. We also export. We used to export pitch, which is basically asphalt. So we had naturally occurring asphalt, which I will explain a little bit later on. We have a lake of naturally occurring asphalt called the Pitch Lake, right? Okay. Small donkey have big ears. That sounds like a Trini. Yeah. So what inspired me to do this? Well, today I went to Limar Camp Fest, which is in in Long Island. And then, as I customarily do when I go to Hamfest in New York, I actually stop off in Queens and I get some of my groceries, Caribbean groceries, from Liberty Avenue and Lefferts Boulevard in Queens. Yeah. So yeah, as Nigel said, LNG, liquefied natural gas, yes, and we have a lot of LNG train there. Yeah. So we actually we have a lot of if you're ever in New York and you want to get a taste of Trinidad, okay, go to Liberty Avenue and Lefferts Boulevard in Queens. Or there's another place a little further down the road called Trin City Roadie Shop. You could look them up. They have all sorts of Trinidad food. But man, that food is so good, okay? The line is just so long, right? You'll be waiting there for 20, 30 minutes, right? So, don't say I didn't warn you, but the food is good. Yeah. Joe, you want to know something, Joe? Our asphalt lake is also called La Brea. Small world, right? Okay. So yeah, so that's our major industries. Now let's talk about how to get the license. And I'm not so sure 100% of the procedure, but the good thing is I have backup in the chat that could tell me. You have to pass an exam. I think now they use mostly the FCC exams, right? Or you could present your current license. You go to the Telecommunications Authority, you fill out a form. I think it's still $100. It used to be really cheap, but it's $100. Yeah. Yeah, Sing's Roadie Shop. But Sing's is okay. But, the ones right next to the train, Nigel, actually changed to Sonny's Roadie Shop. I think they sold it to somebody or something. And the real Sing's with the bar and where they watch cricket and stuff like that is way down the road. But anyway, so you go to the Telecommunications Authority, you fill out the forms, you pay $100, and you get your license, and it's valid for 1 year. I believe the new framework, they're going to have licenses valid for 3 years. If you're a resident or a citizen, you get a 9 Zulu 4 without Morse code, and I think they're going to issue 9 Yankee 4. 9 Yankee 4 used to be you pass a Morse code test. I don't know what they're going to do with that now. If you're a non-resident or a citizen, you could get 9 Yankee 4 stroke your home call, right? And that's pretty much how you do it. And you can see here on the right-hand side, you can see what the form looks like, And the thing about Trinidad is they want you to specify your equipment. They want you to specify what equipment you have. They have a list of certified equipment that you can use. And, they have pretty much everything. If it's not on the list, you could apply to Telecom Authority to have it on the list. But they have everything. They have from ICOM to Baofeng to everything. So, don't worry. Right? When you're importing equipment, though, that's where it gets a little hairy, because if you might have to deal with customs, and they kind of they don't really understand ham radio all that well. They might try to charge you extra fees. They might try to seize the equipment and such like that. But you have to negotiate. And I think the best thing to do is, if you're coming, probably talk to a local radio club, TTARS, Trinidad and Tobago Amateur Radio Society, and they could set you straight. They could help you out, figure out how to best get by customs, although sometimes it's a little challenging for them too. The local amateur radio society is called TTARS, Trinidad and Tobago Amateur Radio Society. I believe they used to do stuff with the Scouting Association. I don't know how much of that they do. Their headquarters in Port of Spain. They have P.O. Box 1167 in Port of Spain. So they are in the capital city. They have a lot of good stuff. And they are the IARU member society for amateur radio in Trinidad and Tobago. And a lot of people, you might know a few of them, like I believe Noel 9Y4 X-Ray was a president back when he was 9Y4 NED. And you have a few others who are, well active hams in there, And, they're not big like the ARRL, okay? They're smaller, it's a small country, a small number of hams. They operate more like a local radio club. But they have official designation by the IARU. So, me being inside the ARRL, I could tell you that the ARRL could get massive and bureaucratic, relatively speaking, compared to some of these smaller radio clubs. but T-Tars is more like your local radio club. So yeah, they're pretty good. T Ray, hey T Ray, nice to see you here, T Ray. And T Ray saying hi to Chuck and Ape. All right, cool. And then yeah, so those of you who don't know who Joe Husker is Joe Eisenberg, the kit guru, and a good friend of mine. So Joe's pretty good. All right, so well, we had a few things, and I'm not gonna put I usually give this presentation to clubs, but I'm not gonna show them a picture. I'm gonna show you here. We had a little incident with some a group that tried to overthrow the government, and they coordinated some attacks using CB radios. And I was told that because of that, the government got more strict. So that could have been to blame. But anyway, there are currently, as Nigel said, there are about 250 active licensed hams in a population of about 1.4 millions, right? Okay, so TATT has the equipment certification forms. Okay, good. I remember I had to go through that one time. And so they have the about 250 licensed hams, a population of 1.4 million. Most people, when they do ham radio, they do it either on 2 meters or HF. But 2 meter band is very popular for local communications. When I was there, we had two repeaters, 146.94 and 147.93. The repeaters that were run by T-Tars. There was one in Tobago too. Not 147.76, I think it is. And then the National Emergency Management Agency has one on 147.800. They're for emergency communications. And they had one outside the ham band. I don't know if they still have that active. But they used to encourage the hams to use that for drills and such like that too. They had a HF net on 7159 on Sunday mornings. I don't know if they still have that, but I believe they still do. And then they have like informal gatherings on 20 meters on 14220 and 14194. So sporadically you'll see Trinidad hams get on those frequencies, right? And I'm going to show you here one of my friends here. You could probably see him climbing a tower. So this is 9Z4BM. He's a good guy. He builds antennas, and he wanted to have a shack for rent. I don't know if he's actually having that there, but I can see if I could find the other slide with him in his shack there. Yeah, he's a big satellite operator, and he enjoys weak signal VHF too. Good guy. So if you're ever there, you look him up. He could also help you get around the island. I believe he knows people who has like transportation and stuff like that for hire, right? So you could get with him as well. Can you get into Venezuelan repeaters? Actually, yes. When there is tropospheric propagation, you can get into Venezuelan repeaters. If you have good antennas, you can. We used to actually have propagation as such where we would regularly contact Venezuela on packet radio, So we're trying to contact you about your ham radio warranty. That's killer. That's cool. Yeah. Well, Nigel, who is in Trinidad, by the way, he says he has about 8 repeaters since the clubs came up, which is good. So, as time marches on, so do we. I'm going to tell you, I want to do part of this video from there when I get there. So, let's see here. So up in the hills here, I'll show you some of the common scenery up in the hills. We're going up to visit one of the repeater sites owned by Arnold 9Y4NG, who is a local ham. And you could see what the kind of chaos that happens up on these hills. You have like mudslides and stuff like that. And as Mahi was telling you, you have the dogs, okay? So dogs are everywhere. They're not on leashes, right? And dogs, they basically eat scraps that everybody throws at them. And they're good. They're good dogs. Let's see here. You can see I mentioned my friend Arnold 9Y4NG. This is some pictures from his And I really should show you here with just the full picture here. Yeah, you see his shack on the left side, and you see some of his antennas there, and you see his car there. So Arnold really was one of the people who impressed me as having a world-class amateur radio shack, and he always prided himself in he converted his garage into his ham shack, and he's always been doing that. So he was pretty good. Let's see what else I could bring up here. So I want to show you something too. When they operated up in on the island. So let me go back first to the map of Trinidad, okay, and Trinidad and Tobago, right? And I want to see how best I can do this. So if you notice, and I can't annotate with this, I'm sorry. So let's pretend we're annotating, okay? Where you see Venezuela, right? You see to the east of Venezuela, you see the island of Trinidad, but just between Venezuela and Trinidad, you see some small dots, right? You see a dot there. Those are what we call down the islands, right? Those are basically small islands that exist, between Trinidad and Venezuela. And we are definitely they're of interest to a lot of people because they're a nice vacation destination, and people tend to go there. And I believe the military has a presence there. So we have the Defense Force, the Trinidad and Tobago military. They have a presence there too. So Nigel, who is in the chat there, Nigel Sukdale, he is 9Z4 Echo Juliet 9Z4EJ. Okay, so 9Z4EJ, they had a little island expedition, field day style on one of these islands here, and they did the 9Y4XD. Okay, I don't know what inspired them to do that call sign, but you see they did some artwork, and then you also see you have pictures. I'll show you these pictures close up here, and you can see him operating there, right? So Chakari Island, and they had tents there. It was a lighthouse, right? So they went and operated by a lighthouse, and they had their little tents there. And you see Nigel here at the mic, right, with his ICOM 718 and the MFJ tuner. I believe they use wire antennas and such. These are some of the pictures he sent to me. You can see some more stuff there. You see some more of the equipment. You see also they have some boxes they made that with all the wiring and stuff like that. Pretty cool stuff, and they operated from there. So these are some of the things the hams do. And not only did they operate there, but whenever they have like a field day type of thing, it's not like a competitive, contest style field day like they have in the United States. What they have is it's more of a get together. Yes, they make some radio contacts, but field day in Trinidad is more of a exercise of you set up your equipment, right? You make sure it works, and then you hang out with everybody and have fun. You might cook some food. You hang around and you chat and you share knowledge and all sorts of stuff. So it's completely different from field day in the United States, where field day is a contest. I'm not hiding from that, okay? Field day is absolutely 100% a contest. I don't care who gets offended at that, right? But field day is a contest. It's an emergency exercise disguised as a contest, which would probably make some people happy if I say that. But in Trinidad, it's a little different. We set up the equipment, we go, and then, you have a good time. So this is kind of what they did there. They set up everything. They made contacts, though. And, you guys asked about the pitch lake, right? So let me tell you about the pitch lake. So we have a natural asphalt lake. And I will show you here. It's called La Brea Pitch Lake. I believe this is it. I think so. Well, now it's overgrown with like algae and stuff like that. But what you do is they used to mine all the natural asphalt, and then plus the water has some minerals in it too. So people use it for all sorts of healing properties and such like that. And you could have actually gone to Pitch Lake, and you could have take a dip and you could have bathed and such like that in there. And people used to do that back in the 80s and 90s. I remember that. I don't know what they're doing today, but that's what they did today. But this asphalt from the Pitch Lake has actually been used for a lot of roads worldwide, you know. Now, I talked a lot about Trinidad. Let me show you Tobago, okay? Tobago, won't you want to be here? I hear we getting snow, right? I don't want to be in snow. I want to be in this, I want to be in that. What can I do to get into that? But all kidding aside, yeah, I hate the snow. Snow is expensive, and it's going to be an expensive season to heat your home this winter. I'm not looking forward to that. But in Trinidad, you can spend your time by the beach, and you could go there and have some fun, and there's fishing. So not only is there this is another picture. This is from Tobago as well, right? So Tobago is supposed to have all these nice beaches and sand and such like that. And a lot of people enjoy that. There are a lot of German expats who now live in Tobago, and they either come by yacht or they come and they settled, and they're enjoying the nice amenities of Tobago. So yeah. Now, let me see what else I could bring up. I'll talk about radio in a second. But this is the coral reef. The coral reef used to be a lot cleaner than that. I think over the years, pollution and algae and such like that have gotten to it. But we used to have a lot of bright coral and such like that in the water. So if you like birds, we have a lot of birds there too. This is a kiskadee bird. This is actually in my dad's front yard in an orange tree. But we have lots of birds. We have a big bird sanctuary and stuff too if you like birds. I love watching birds. I don't like bird poop. I love watching birds. Food, we have doubles. So doubles is like a street food where they fry up some bread, and it's kind of like, they fry up some unleavened bread, and they put some chickpeas with curry in it, right? And they have something called Callaloo, which is where you could have crab in it, but it basically is a ground. You boil okra and some other bush, some other leafy thing, dasheen bush, I believe, and then you swizzle that up together, and you make Callaloo. It's green. Roti is the thing. Roti is unleavened bread, where you could have it either has like split peas in it, so you call that dal puri roti, or you have the bust up shot roti, which is really a colloquialism for a burst. It looks like a burst up shirt, right? So we call it bust up shot. You could also call it paratha. We had a lot of Chinese food, which is kind of like Cantonese flavored, but there's a lot of newer immigrant Chinese people there now, so you're getting a lot of different sort of flavors now. And let's see here what Nigel was saying. Tobago is known as the jewel of the Caribbean. Yeah, Tobago is kind of known as Robinson Crusoe's island, because I believe the legend has it that Robinson Crusoe is about Tobago. So yeah. Pilau and curry duck, yeah, we have duck meat, and pilau is kind of like a rice with beans and such in it, and it's dried down and has carrots and vegetables and all sorts of cool stuff, and it's good. The fishing is awesome if you like sea fishing, okay? You could go out in a boat, you could fish, you could cast your net, you could do a rod and reel, The fishing is awesome. If you love fishing, you're gonna love Trinidad and Tobago, especially Tobago. But there's fishing all over. It's an island. It's an island. So there are a lot of people who love, if you love to fish, and if you like fishing in a pond or something, you could fish in a pond. There's like ponds that have that. There's rivers and such too. There's plenty of sea fishing. The other thing you got to be careful of is on the west coast. You have to be careful if you go on a fishing boat that you don't go too far out, because you might encounter the Venezuelan Guardia Nacional, who is going to not be happy that you wavered into Venezuelan waters. And there have been incidents in the past where the Guardia, the Venezuelan military, they were basically hostile to Trinidadian fishermen who ventured into Venezuelan waters. So yeah. Indian cuisine. Yeah, so a lot of our stuff is actually Indian flavored. We have our Indian heritage, like I mentioned. We have about literally a little more than 1/3 Indian and 1/3 African. So they're about the same. And then what you find is a lot of fusion between those two. So you have the Indian dishes, and then you have the African and the Afro-Caribbean, and then you have other flavors infused by different cultures that basically landed on our shores. And they brought their pots and their spices and such with them. So, let's go back to radio. Okay? And I'm going to answer some questions about radio. And I'm going to clear this comment here. So, let me see what Nigel has here. Good evening, Kurt, W9KEC. Nice to see you. Yeah, the shack, I think you're referring to Arnold's shack. Yeah, Arnold's shack is awesome. He's really awesome. Do we have a maximum power limit? Nigel, answer that. Yeah, it's 1500 watts, 1.5 kW. I believe some bands have lower. I believe at one time 2 meters had a power limit of 100 watts. I don't know if that's been changed, but we generally follow ITU Region 2, which is, the Americas. So we follow Region 2 band planning and such like that. It's always good to join the home club. Yeah, let's see here. Yeah, as Nigel's saying, we have power limits for all bands. Of course, there are legends of people running tens of kilowatts illegally, of course. Excuse me. There was a rumor that there was this guy who would have a power transformer. He used a pole pig as a power transformer for his amplifier. And this was in the days of AM, by the way. Okay. He would key up, and that thing would drop power, and then all the neighborhood lights would go out because he tripped the breaker. Okay. And because he tripped the breaker, he had to wait for the power company, the Trinidad and Tobago Electricity Commission, also known as TNTEC, to come and turn back on the power because he drew too much power. And then maybe he just turned it down for the next transmission. So that was the story, but yeah, 1500 watts. I think most people on HF use 100 watts because, frankly, an amplifier is expensive business. And for a lot of people, it's not necessary. Right? When you get on as 9 Yankee 4, you get a pileup. Okay? Let's see what else we have here. KB8 LTP. Nice to see you. And yeah, Chuck, if you're going down there, we should have a YouTubers bunch something down there sometime. Who knows, like a bunch of us YouTubers just go down there. I will gladly show you around, and I'll introduce you to all the locals there. Remote work, yeah, they have good internet in a lot of places, so they have fiber optic internet in some places now, believe it or not. So it's gonna be pretty good. Let's see what I could catch up on here. So as far as that traffic in New York City sucks. I hate it. And it's not just the traffic. I had so many people try to, they nearly hit my car and I had to brake. And, I was on autopilot on Tesla in Long Island and Queens. And it kind of like was it was probably so stressed out because it kept giving me all sorts of warnings and funny noises. But let's see. You want to use 2.25 kW on Whisper one day, you're going to make a lot of people very angry. That's all I'm going to say. But I don't think you can use it on digital modes. I think in Canada, you're only allowed that power limit on SSB. And I think it's 1 kilowatt input. So let's see here. Okay. So what else? Let's see here. So this person, right? I'll show you here. I just want to see here. The person who got me into ham radio was Tony 9Y4AL. And I want to show you what he looks like. He was a school teacher. Right? And let's see here. I want to try to get me out of this picture. Oops. Okay. Here we go. Yeah, so Tony, Tony Limac, 9Y4 Alpha Lima. He was one, he taught at a local school, and I learned amateur radio from him. He really, he was very, very much, and quite frankly, some of the things I do on Ria Shack Ham Radio, okay, are a direct result of learning his mentoring efforts. I don't do this for the money, okay? I do, every YouTuber always, gets something from this if they reach a certain threshold, but this for me is more about making sure that I could help people, right? And with him, he taught a lot of licensing classes, and he would always be teaching people things. He spent a lot of time in the bookstore. Even though the bookstore said no free reading, he would go and read the books. And then QSD magazine. Yeah, he taught generations of local amateurs. He was, generations, literally. I think without him, there would probably be no ham radio in Trinidad for a lot of people. And he had a lot of, a lot of people got introduced to ham radio. So let me tell you something, okay? The process to get an amateur license in Trinidad, when I got licensed, back in the ancient days, okay, when Bill Clinton was being impeached or something, we had to pass the City and Guilds Radio Amateurs exam, which was the British exam, right? It was about the same, I think, as a U.S. extra class amateur exam, right? I don't think it was more difficult than that. I think it was about that. And, a lot of people just couldn't do it, A lot of people just couldn't do it. But he taught them. He used to have classes at local schools. And he taught people in a practical manner and showed them. It's not like here in the United States where you can pick up a bash book or Easy Way book or even the ARRL manual, or you could go on ham study, and you get the whole question pool in front of you. Of course, a lot of these books will teach you the theory as well, which is good. And I believe ham study also teaches you theory too, and ham radio prep and such. They explain the questions, but we didn't have access to the question pools. Okay? We did not have access to that at all. So you had to know your stuff. And for a lot of people who wanted to, let me just state it right away. A lot of people who wanted to graduate from CB into amateur radio, right, could not learn all this stuff. Because a lot of people in amateur radio came from CB radio, right? I mean, that's just how it is in a lot of places. So he kind of taught them and he made it simple for them, and he really taught a lot of people. I don't talk much about my faith and such like that too, but we shared that. Like, he was Catholic, and he played music in the church and such like that too. So it was pretty impressive, and we talked a lot of spiritual stuff too. But I wouldn't bore you with religion because you probably don't want to know what my religious beliefs are. But that was cool. Anyway, so yeah, so I took that. I also have a full UK license, by the way, because of that. I have M0 Romeo Alpha Juliet, and that's the traffic in New York City would drive Kit from Night Ready. That's true. You know. Yeah, you can have the. I don't think it's math, right? The math, um, you know, um, if you look at college math for electrical engineering, curriculum, it's way higher than ham radio. You know, like if you do something like differential equations, you don't have that in ham radio. You have that in electrical engineering. That one will drive you nuts, right? And but yeah, so no, you do need to know. You need to be able to figure out things, right? And you need to be able to figure out the trick questions. Like one of the questions they ask you is when you press the mic, right? Not when you talk. When you press the mic on an amateur radio transceiver that's tuned to single sideband, what do you see on the power meter? Okay, and they put several, right? And you had to figure out that, well, you don't actually see the power increase until you start to talk, because single sideband doesn't produce any power until you start to talk. You see what I mean? So it's questions like that you got to figure out. Even if you were, if you, the FAA with like either because I took the private pilots written, and also Part 107, which is similar. They try to trip you up. They tell you all sorts of things, and they're very, very sly about it, right? Of course, I passed with 94%, but they're very sly about it. So City and Guilds, they were like that. And the person, if you want to see more about City and Guilds, they are at G4DMP. If you look up G4DMP, the examiner for City and Guilds was a British guy by the name of David M. Pratt, right? I think he's still alive. But his website's up there, and you see all the past papers, and he explained a lot of things about the City and Guilds exam. So yeah, that was the process to get a license. So you take your City and Guilds exam. You wait, I think, 2 to 3 months for the results. You get the results back from the local radio society, right? Because TTARs used to handle all of that. Then you take a trip into Port of Spain. None of this online business, okay? You had to go and show up at the telecommunications office. And then you show your pass, okay? And you pay your money. So you don't even pay the money in the same building. You went across to customs next door, okay? And you pay the money there, and you come back with your receipt. And then this licensing officer would write your name and give you a call sign from the book. That's how it used to be. Now everything is handled by the Telecommunications Authority of Trinidad and Tobago, who is not even in Port of Spain anymore. They're nearby the city. So they were, they're pretty good. And I haven't been on the bands today. I'm sorry. I was out shopping and also at this Hamfest. So so the RSGB has their own exam now. And I believe they got rid of the practical tests, so they only have written exams now. Got it. Yes, the distractors are amazing. They'll trip you up. So, yeah, 10-4. Yeah. So what Nigel was saying is true. He taught generations of local radio amateurs, and That's not an understatement. Literally, people. I taught a few. I taught a few of them, right? I taught a boy and a girl, and the tragic thing was the boy. He was very enthusiastic in amateur radio. Okay, he was very, very enthusiastic. He passed, and then unfortunately, he died suddenly of some illness. About less than a year later. So that was very tragic. But his sister passed as well too. She passed. I don't even know if she got a call sign. That would have been cool. Yeah, so City and Guilds did stop. But they still have the certificates actually, and they sent me a certificate too. You could still get replacement certificates from them. I have mine. But I don't really need it unless I don't know who else is going to accept that. I have my FCC license, extra class, and I have I have the certificate. I have my British license, which supposedly is HAREC, H-A-R-E-C, Harmonized Amateur Radio Exam Certificate in Europe, so I can use it. So, Sherry Taylor, nice to see you. I don't think I've seen you before. G1ZHN. All right, nicely done. G1ZHN. Handbands, we sound. So yeah, the handbands these days are affected by the solar cycle. Actually, solar cycle's picking up, so it should be. Thing. Yeah. So apparently 2 meters in Trinidad is still 100 watts. Still 100 watts. Okay. Thank you, Nigel. All right. Well, I know it's getting late. It's late on a Sunday. I do appreciate you joining me for this little trip down memory lane and also, down to the Caribbean. I hope as the travel restrictions end that I might be able to go back and probably, meet some of my friends down there. Nigel down there in Trinidad is a good guy. And probably see them there. One more thing. They did have a special event, 9Y59IND. So they celebrated 59 years of independence of Trinidad and Tobago. And then they had a special event. So I have another video on his channel. I'll probably link it in the description. So how many different countries am I licensed in? I'm just licensed in the United States and UK right now. My Trinidad and Tobago license lapsed because I don't have a valid ID in Trinidad and Tobago right now, and I just got frustrated with the embassy, consulate, and their long procedures. They're kind of just, I just forget about it. Eventually, I'll figure that out. Cold Streams, thank you very much, and nice to see you. So, if you found this interesting, I do hope you did, and we stream every Sunday. I do stream on Thursdays in cooperation with Dixie DX. Two Chicks in a Radio. We talk about various topics where I'm teaching her and passing it forward. So, please like and subscribe if you do like the content. Of course, if you don't, let me know. And yeah, the weather has been up and down, so it's been good though. It's been good. Yeah, it's been good. I'm getting close to it. Chutney music, yeah. So we have like these chutney things, right? Where the concerts, but they just call them a chutney. Where you go and they play the Indian Caribbean music called chutney, and basically people are, they're dancing around. They do a dance they call whining, where they gyrate their waist. It's pretty good. So get a pot of curry duck is waiting. Nigel, that I will definitely take you up on that. Okay, and we have to go. We all have to go down by the river, and I want to go and probably, I'll probably talk at a club meeting. All right, 73 y'all. Have a good night. And people ask me to talk like a Trini. Okay, let me see how best I can remember how to do it. So people in Trinidad and Tobago, they talk like this, okay? And people from Trinidad might still think I might sound a little bit American, but that's how it is. But my mom, she just can't talk American. My mom talks Trinidadian all the time. All right, so 73, good night, good evening, and keep on hamming. And to RJ.